Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Daniel Miller, resident tech guru at Wealtheo.com. And we are here for our second live Q&A with the Renegade capitalist himself, David Thomas Roberts. But before we bring Dave on to answer the questions that you have submitted, a little bit of housekeeping. A reminder, we are both on YouTube and Facebook tonight. And of course, all of your chats, questions, and comments aggregate. So if you have questions, get them in. We already have some phenomenal questions that have been submitted, and we'll be working through those. But we will be monitoring chat live tonight, and your questions could influence the direction of the program tonight. So a little reminder for those of you that are not familiar with Wealtheo. Wealtheo is the brainchild of our founder and CEO, the man that you're about to hear from tonight, David Thomas Roberts, the Renegade capitalist, created specifically for the purpose of helping you achieve wealth and success in every area of your life, with a big concentration on personal finance. And of course, that is reflected tonight in your questions. If you would like to at any time, go check out what Wealtheo has to offer. Head over to Wealtheo.com. And if you'd like to learn more about Dave, head over to Wealtheo.com/DTR. That's DTR is in David Thomas Roberts. And of course, if you want access to all of our personal finance courses, you can head over to Wealtheo.com/plus, where for just a low fee of $9.95 a month, you can get access to our entire library of courses, and it is extensive. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on our guest tonight. I say guest, I mean, this is frankly his show. He's in the 1836 Saloon right now. It's our founder and CEO, the Renegade capitalist, David Thomas Roberts. Hey, Dave, how are you?
Hey, Daniel, Happy New Year to you and everybody else.
Yeah, Happy New Year. It's been a heck of a new year so far, man. 2022 is shaping up to be a year filled with some of the greatest opportunity for people in their personal financial life and for entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah, everybody wants to put 21 behind them because of COVID and a whole bunch of other things, but there's still opportunities out there, and the tighter money gets, the more important the financial principles that you follow.
Absolutely. Well, I will tell you, the questions tonight that have been submitted really, I think, speak to the optimism and the grind and the hustle for the people that are out there trying to get a handle on all this personal finance. So let's start off with the first question. How does that sound?
Sounds great. If you don't mind, got my scar. I'm ready.
Are you ready to go, huh? Okay, so here's what we got. So Katie sent this one in, and I think you're going to like this because I think you and I have actually talked about this before. And it factored into perhaps one of the answers from last month too. But this is what Katie wants to know. She says, I want to move my business online, but I'm not sure how to find a qualified person or team to help me get going. Is it better to hire staff or outsource by project?
Well, I'm assuming she's in the startup stage. Is it a startup stage, Dana, or an established business?
It was not specified. I'm guessing sounds like already established, but trying to make the digital pivot.
Yeah, my tendency would be to, depending on how much e-commerce they're going to do, I would start off contract and being able to source that out and not bring on staff. Anytime I can avoid having full-time employees, I'm going to do that, at least until there'll be a crossover point where it makes sense to have somebody like that. But I'll tell you what, just to have somebody that's fully qualified that can build websites and do the technology behind it, you're not talking about an inexpensive employee. But there's so many people, like on, one of the sources is Fiverr, Fiverr. That's not the only one, but that's the one that comes to mind and one I've used quite a bit. There's all kinds of resources on there, and it's fairly inexpensive. You can find the expertise that you need, and that's where I would start. And then if you build it in something like WordPress, which is kind of I get Daniel, and this is probably a question for Daniel too, because Daniel's our tech guru. In something like that, where anybody could pick up where that person left off in the event that you do move it in-house or move it to another contractor.
Yeah, I heard tech guru, and it's like you said Beetlejuice 3 times. I appeared.
But Daniel,
Yeah.
don't you agree it's easier for somebody to build it in WordPress? That way anybody can pick it up where it left off.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are, from a tech perspective, there are a lot of opportunities for outsourcing. From a tech perspective, the vast majority of this, particularly in a digital pivot, is going to be handled by contractors, and you could find them everywhere. Fiverr is a good source if you're looking for somebody to kind of handle some quick things, right? You're going to find more people that can build templated websites over there. But if you're looking for an e-commerce solution, which obviously you are, then you've got a lot of options. You could go find a freelancer at a place like Upwork. Another great place. One of the things I would suggest is if you're networking with other people, other business owners, uh, get referrals. If you're dealing with other people that have taken a business online, get referrals. Word of mouth is a freelancer's best friend. And they can help guide you. And dealing with these little boutique agencies is a lot better, a lot of times, than dealing with. And yeah, you're going to spend a little bit more, but it's better to spend more and get it done right than have to drag it out and have headaches for years to come.
A
And
couple of notes to that too, Daniel. So it's really easy to go like on GoDaddy if you bought your domain from them, or Wix, Wix, and they have templates. I would just caution you to be very careful because those templates are proprietary to them. And we've even seen instances where somebody has gone to one of those sites or gone to a site that provides the templates, got their domain name from them, and lo and behold, they find out that they don't really own, as long as that they're using their template, they don't own the domain name, and it's real critical that you own your domain. So that's another thing to be careful of.
absolutely. All right. Well, good one. So, Katie, you got the answer straight from the horse's mouth. And good luck to you on your digital pivot. And glad to hear that you're doing it. So many people are making that pivot during the COVID lockdowns. And I would encourage you to go back and watch the Q&A from last week, because Dave talked about we had a question specifically about the digital pivot related to COVID. So you're going to want to check that out. Okay, this one is from Jake. Jake says, I've got a business idea that is in the works, but I could use some investor help. How do you recommend I present my idea in a way that sells? Do I prepare a business plan, financials?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm assuming this is a startup where it doesn't have any revenue yet. So, and there's plenty of places you can go online and look for business plan templates. If you're looking for somebody as an investor, then the ROI, the return on investments, can be critical to them. Um, so the main thing is when you're putting this in front of somebody else to put their money up, um, make sure that you're showing what their return would be, and then all the risks that are associated with that return. Also, a word of caution: family is a great place to go to fund a startup business. But I would, obviously, if things go wrong, then the fact that it's a family member complicates that. So you want to have a written contract, even if it's somebody in your family, with the plan to pay them back. I've seen a lot of instances where family have invested money, the investment didn't work out, and then the family split. So be very careful about that. But for an investor, they want to see a return on their money. One word of caution as an entrepreneur: don't ever, ever, ever give up 51% ownership of your business. If you can't find an investor that will take less than that, at least have a plan that as you execute on that business plan, that you acquire 51% or you become 51% owner. So there will be people that will invest in you if it's the right idea. But I'm real hesitant. In fact, I've never given up controlling interest in one of my entities to get funding.
That's solid advice. So, Dave, where would someone go? If they are an entrepreneur, they need to crank out a business plan, or they're being asked for a business plan from an investor. Are there any resources or locations you would suggest that they go to kind of figure out how to make that happen?
There's crowdfunding places. There's micro ventures. If you type in those two terms online, you'll find probably a dozen sites that you could go do that. Um, some of those tend to be very heavy in what I would call gadgets or technology. As far as offerings go, for a service type company, it may be a little bit more difficult. But again, it's having the right plan, having the right presentation of that plan. But if you know anybody, those are great places to go look. Banks are probably not a good resource. Banks don't take risk for the most part. So unless you have some collateral to put up against it, that's another end. And some people take out, home equity loans to finance a business, which again, risky, but I get it. If that's your lifelong dream and that's what it takes to get it, if you got a solid plan, that's another avenue. But a traditional bank is not going to lend you money typically for a startup business, even if you have outstanding credit, unless they have something to collateralize against that loan.
Got it. All right. Well, we touched on this one a little bit earlier, for the COVID pivot, talked about it in 2022, but Lauren wants to know, how do you know when it's the right time to start a business? I keep waiting for all my ducks to be in a row, but it's not happening as quickly as I would like.
Your ducks will never be all in a row. That's the best advice I can give to somebody. Listen, for me, it's just when you get sick of being sick and tired, that's the right time. And depending on what your idea is and what kind of business you're in, timing could mean a lot. Opening up a restaurant, in the middle of the holiday season, that may sound like good timing. I don't know. It just depends on what the theme of the restaurant is, where the location's at, those kind of things. But, when you absolutely can't stand the thought of another day working for somebody else, you'll know it's the right time.
There we go. I can't add anything to that at all because it's true. Sometimes you just gotta, plant the flag and go for it. Right.
Yeah. It's like, you're on that hour drive commute into downtown Houston. At what point, how many times are you going to do that? Take 2 hours out of your day and fight that traffic, at some point. Now there's people that never reach that. Okay. And, it's all power to them, but they never reached that point where that pain was bigger than their pain of not starting a business. So, or starting a business. So, it's different for everybody, but I'm telling you, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and it goes back to what I always say, Daniel's heard me say this, and some of y'all that are joining this have heard me say this, but I would rather eat beans and live on a dirt floor than have somebody else tell me when I can go on vacation, how much money I can make, what time I have to report, and, how far I have to drive to get to work. I don't relate to that. There's a lot of people that don't relate to that. But when you reach that level, then you're ready.
There we go. Okay. Interesting question. Since we mentioned 2022, Joel wants your take. He says, now that 2022 is here, what do you suspect will happen with inflation? Do you have any guidance on what you think will take place with real estate and property taxes, increases, etc.?
I wish it was good news, but it's probably not going to be good news under this administration, even if the Congress changes hands, because let's face it, both parties are not fiscally responsible, and they've proven not to be. So I would suspect that inflation is going to continue, at least for the short term. And there's even talks of interest rates being risen in the third quarter of this year, which would only fuel the fire. It would not be a good thing. In fact, that's how we got in the Depression, as we went through an inflationary cycle. Then the Federal Reserve raised interest rates at the wrong time. So I'm not bullish when it comes to that. I think inflation is going to continue. I think there's going to be a ton of pressure on the dollar, and everybody needs to tread lightly and plan ahead, because now that doesn't mean that business opportunities are not going to exist, or that you need to crawl into a shell. But I right now, with COVID, the supply chain issues, this incompetent, inept administration, I don't see it getting fixed in the short term.
Yeah, and so one of the other parts of that question was about real estate and property taxes,
Oh,
and
yeah. Well, you definitely don't want to be. I wouldn't do any investments in commercial property and commercial office space. You look at downtown Houston; most of those skyscrapers are half empty or worse. So I would avoid investments in the commercial office space unless you're just able to steal something. But there are going to be opportunities. I think real estate's probably inflated only because people don't want to leave. They're trying to get out of the big cities. They're trying to get out of democratically controlled counties and democratically controlled cities. So that's probably where I would not be looking for investments unless you just had an unbelievable opportunity to steal a piece of property.
yeah, and we can definitely attest because we're hearing people all over. Of course, for those of you joining us, if you can't tell, we're in Texas. But we're having that issue right now with property taxes and appraisals, and while real estate is selling for exorbitant amounts of money, that's being fueled by people that are moving in from Texas and paying well over list price for homes. So it's definitely going to be a big issue in 2022, no doubt.
Right. And there's been, we have some candidates in Texas on the horizon that's promised to do something with, abolish property taxes. That needs to happen. But you got all these county governments and school districts who have an unending supply of increase budget increases every year because your real estate values go up every year. And there's despite what the legislators say, there's no cap on the property taxes. They just continue to climb every year, and there's no constraint on their budgets at all. So I'm not bullish on government, and I think we have a lot of problems that that's why I get involved in this stuff is because you just can't let them get away with it.
Man, maybe it sounds like some of these local government guys need to go through our debt freedom course, right? Maybe we can offer it to the counties.
They need it. The problem is it's not their money, so it's really easy to spend other people's money, which is the taxpayers.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
Yeah, that is a larger topic for a very specific broadcast.
Yeah, that's an eight
well,
hour one.
yeah, no doubt, right? Well, look, that reminds me, if we're going to offer the debt freedom course to government officials so they can stop putting counties and cities into debt, I think it's important that we offer it to you as well. A reminder that if you want access to all the courses that Wealtheo offers, you can head over to wealtheo.com/plus, and for $9.95 a month, get access to every single solitary course that we have, including the debt freedom course, which I may be a little biased here, but I got to tell you, it is probably the best money management, debt management course I have ever seen. It takes you from idea and concept to practical implementation, and it's definitely the baby. It's our baby in Wealtheo, and you're going to want to check that out. And
Yeah,
you get
and
access
it's
to Wealtheo
listen.
Plus.
This is what I used to get out of debt, and what I've seen have worked. And it's some things you're going to hear from on these courses that you've never heard before. I promise you. And some of it's a little unconventional, but I promise you they work. And if you just apply the principles that are in this course in that course, it'll happen. You'll be able to say you're debt free.
There you go. And a key component to those of you out there wanting to live the renegade capitalist lifestyle is getting your financial house in order. And that starts with managing and trying to eliminate your debt. All right, Dave, let's move on, man. Hank we got a couple more questions here. Hey, and a reminder for those of you that are tuned in on the live stream, either on YouTube or Facebook, we are monitoring chat. Just drop your questions in, and we will try to get them in. And so far, we've actually been able to handle a couple of questions that were lumped in. So I think people are sort of synchronized in their thinking and their questions. So greatly appreciated. All right, Dave, here we go. Hank wants to know, he read your last op-ed, or the op-ed last month about the financially stress-free holidays. And he says that he is anticipating the credit card bill being painful this month. Do you have any advice on how to attack the new debt and get ahead? Man, we should have saved the debt freedom discussion for this question.
Yeah, the answer is in the debt freedom course for sure. But to summarize that for a minute, not just the credit card, that credit card or those credit cards that you got to look at your whole debt scenario. And then there's a methodology that we use to attack the smallest debts first and start paying those off, and then snowball that and start paying off the larger debts. A lot of people want to focus on what the interest rates are between credit cards. And at least in the beginning, that's not the critical issue. The critical issue is having small successes first, paying off the credit card that you need to pay off, that's the smallest, and build from there. And there's things that we teach in the debt freedom course. So, how do you start that? How do you get the money to get that? I know we're in Texas, but some of y'all probably never made a snowball in your life. But the way you start off was with a little piece, and then you pack snow on it and you roll it and you roll it, it gets bigger. And that's how you got to attack your debt, is you got to start with the small and start paying them off. And there's things that we teach example, especially for folks that are living paycheck to paycheck, so I was like, well, I don't have any extra money to put against my credit cards. I barely, putting food on the table and keeping my bills paid and keeping my lights on. Well, look in your closet, look in your garage. If you haven't used if you haven't used something in 6 months, sell it. There's that set of golf clubs you haven't used in 6 months, sell it. You got clothes you haven't worn, sell them. You got toys that aren't used, the kids have outgrown, sell them. Find some way to get that debt snowball started and start applying it. And it's the little successes in the beginning that will add up down the road and get that debt snowball going.
Yeah, I kind of like the advice you gave about when's the best time to start a business. It's, when you're ready. And I guess what you're saying is that the best time to attack your debt is now, when you're ready.
Don't overlook this too. I mean, there are credit card companies, if you call them, and they sometimes will give you a hardship reduction of the interest rates. So they won't reduce your principal, but they'll reduce your interest rates. And some of them, not all of them. And most part, the credit card companies are heartless for a reason. So after all, they are bankers. I have some very good friends that are bankers, but they're heartless. So you can try that too, to see if they'll reduce your interest rate and be able that will help the snowball grow that much faster.
Okay, super. All right.
Oh, by the way, the worst thing you could do is go to a debt consolidation company. Don't ever, and Daniel, did I say ever? Don't ever, ever use a debt consolidation company. They're ripoffs. It'll kill your credit. You're better off doing this on your own because it'll take you 10 years for your credit to recover. It's as bad as filing bankruptcy.
That's sound advice. Sound advice. Okay, this is another entrepreneurship question, Dave. Apparently, Julie's kind of in the same boat that Jake was related to starting a business. Julie says, "How do you get past the no factor when raising money to start a business? I understand rejection. However, it doesn't help me understand the reasoning behind it. What I mean is, how do I know if my business plan needs work or my delivery of the information?"
I would ask the people that rejected you what their reasons are. It could be a combination. It could be something completely that you're not doing. It's just that they don't invest that type of business. But don't be afraid to hesitate them and say, okay, I understand that you won't, but can you help me so that, when I go to the next person, when I go to the next source, any advice you can give me? People love to give advice. Ask them for their advice and ask them why specifically they can't do it. Not that you're trying to talk them into it, but that you're seriously interested in their advice, what you could do better, what's missing in the business plan. And I get really excited, Daniel, when I've turned somebody down and they ask me that question. I said, all right, you really want to know? Okay, well, your plan sucks. Yeah, here's why. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's no return for the investment. You've based the assumptions are too crazy. The assumptions aren't believable in your pro forma financials. So you got to really ask and dig, or and it could be they just, depending on the dollar amount that you're asking for. And if you've never been in business for yourself, some people are some sources are hesitant to invest in somebody that hasn't proven that they can execute on a business plan. So that could be it too. So you just got to ask and keep working on it. Listen, there's networking groups, there's business coaches, there's mentors, there's folks. Hey, send me your business plan. I'll look at it, okay, and tell you what I think of it or where you can improve on it. And but it's kind of like the guy that comes with me and he wants to start a business selling buggy whips. Well, there's really not a high demand for those anymore. So, it's but you got to look at all of it, the financials, what the plan is, execute the marketing plan, everything. And then again, it could be, the amount of money that you're asking for. Believe it or not, it can actually be you're not asking for enough money. And because they think you're going to need more money to execute on the plan than you're actually asking for. So which means they're going to give you money, you're not going to make it. So it's a bad investment. So it could be a myriad of different things, could be a combination of all the above, but please ask them politely for your own reference so that you can do better in the next presentation or you can improve your plan. And listen, a lot of people will really take that to heart and give you some solid advice.
Dave, do you find in your experience that most investors are willing to give that sort of advice, to give that sort of very specific feedback?
Yeah, and I call it, I think I in one of my books, I call this unpacking, which is, I like to ask, a successful business person, and try to unpack their brain. And I want to understand how they think so I can learn how to think like they do. And that's really what you're trying to find out is, how is it, well, how does this person that is successful, that has money to invest in other business, how are they thinking? And unpack that thinking so that you can learn how to think like they do. I mean, that's the process.
Okay, that is great advice. And hey, one more question related to this that somebody is kind of piling in on. That apparently this is generating a good deal of interest. The pitch. They want to know how they can improve their pitch to, I guess, to investors or really to anybody. But it was how can I work on my pitch?
Well, I can't tell you how many times I've heard a business idea. It was an idea that couldn't be articulated well enough that I can understand what that business actually was. So, the elevator pitch is basically being able to describe your business in 20 seconds or less in a very easy, straightforward method that people would understand. And, so the elevator pitch that comes from, if you get on an elevator, you should be able, by the time you get to the top floor with somebody, you should be able to tell them what your business is. So it's got to be very concise. It's got to articulate what your business is, what your market is, how do you plan to satisfy the market, what your business, what problem. I mean, let's face it. About every business solves a problem of some kind. Okay. In some businesses where it's, let's take the iPhone, for example. Okay. Nobody knew that they had a problem that they didn't have an iPhone. So some of it's creating a new market. So there are those kind of businesses, but most businesses, they're solving a problem or bringing something to market for perhaps that nobody's ever seen. So, you have to be able to articulate it.
Okay. And practice.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, look, this brings us to our final question of the evening. Our final submitted question of the evening.
I've got a lot of cigar left, Daniel. That's great.
I know, right? But this is a doozy. We saved this one till the end because Todd seems a little combative. He seems unconvinced. He says, not to sound harsh, but what gives you authority in the space to teach others how to be financially independent? Do you have time freedom and money freedom, or one or the other? Wow, he wants your credentials, Dave.
Well, okay. So I could stop working today and retire. The things that I do today are due for the love of doing them. I don't have to do them, but for the love of doing them. So my idea of financial independence is basically to do the things I want to do when I want to do them, and not being unencumbered by bills, by money. Now, look, let me explain this. You could win the lottery tomorrow, which I think was up to 340 million or something like that. Okay, and how many times have we seen lottery winners go broke, or pro athletes go broke after making millions of dollars in their career? So it's not about how much money you make; it's about how much money you keep. How you spend your money, how you invest your money. So, without showing you my balance sheet, do a little research on your own, and I'm sure you'll figure out that I think I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no doubt. And let me throw that. There's if you go to our website at wealtheo.com /DTR, Todd, you can educate yourself on the Renegade Capitalist and find out exactly why he knows exactly what he's talking about.
Well, let me say this, Todd, too. Okay. So no matter how wealthy you get, there's always somebody wealthier. So, am I Elon Musk wealthy? Am I Jeff Bezos wealthy? Absolutely not. Okay. Do I aspire to be? Absolutely. But I think the last time I looked, I'm in the top 1% based on income tax returns of both income and wealth. So, and I'm not saying that to brag. You asked the question, so I'm answering it. I know this. I don't like to pay taxes, and so anyway, do some research. If you're still not convinced, come back to me. I'll be happy to talk to you more personally.
Now, do you realize that not liking to pay taxes, that's going to spur on a whole bunch of questions next month about taxes, right? You realize what you've done.
It's actually one of my favorite subjects,
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you something else too. If you're a W-2 employee and you don't have a home-based business of some kind, then you're not able to take advantage of the major the tax breaks that are still in the tax code. Don't know for how long, but are still in the tax code. And there are some rules at some point that you have to be running your business to make a profit. It's debatable and arguable about how long you have to run the business before you make a profit, for the IRS considers it a hobby. I'm not your tax advisor. I'll just tell you that those of us that have home-based businesses have deductions and have advantages that a W-2 wage earner does not have.
Boom, drop the mic. Hey, do you have a copy of your book, Death of Liberty? Do you have one there handy?
Death of Liberty?
Yeah,
Sure.
that you can hold up. And just and I think it's a good opportunity. If Dave's talking about taxes, tell him about the research that went into that book and what the book is about.
This is 2 years of research on the tax code, and the reason why we told the title "Death of Liberty" is because the income tax, the progressive income tax, which was born out of the progressive era, and I give a lot of credit or blame, if you want to call it that, to Teddy Roosevelt. It wasn't enacted during Roosevelt's administration, but he got the ball rolling. But the income tax is the biggest social welfare program in the world. And just look at the earned income tax credits now. In fact, they're going to pay those monthly to illegals. It's just another source of a basic income. That's what it's going to turn out to be. But I mean, can you imagine? Do you think that Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, those guys would have put up with a tax on their labor? The entire country up until the 1913, the entire government of the United States was funded on excise taxes and indirect taxes. This started out as a flat tax, and that's my problem with flat tax proponents, is that if you leave it to Congress, it never stays flat. It's got to go away completely. So the income tax, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And of course,
And
then you get the IRS with it, so what could be better? Income tax and IRS. What a great combination.
yeah, it's like having a boil on a boil
Worse.
or worse.
And
But
listen, I've gotten to know the IRS intimately over the years. During the Obama administration, I was audited every year he was in office, and that's no accident. Okay, so it could be used as a political weapon also, and it can reward cronies just as it can punish your enemies. So 2 years of research on that book, everything in it sourced, including the fact that we pay earned income tax refunds to illegal aliens and dependents who they claim and who have never been in the United States. So I don't know how that makes it should make everybody mad, but it's true. I've challenged Congress on it. They've admitted it. The IRS won't do anything about it. And yet our tax money goes right out the window and gets paid to people that don't deserve it.
incredible. Well, look, if you're watching this and would like to get a copy of that and want to look at all the research that Dave did into the income tax, its origins, and its current status, you can pick up a copy of The Death of Liberty on the Wealtheo website in the Wealtheo store at wealtheo.com. All right, Dave. That's it. That's what we've got for this month. So, first of all,
Can we give a peek to some things that are coming?
if
that we
if you
haven't
would
formally announced.
if you would like to give a sneak peek, you're the founder and CEO. You get to do whatever you want to do.
Well, I'm trying to stay on track, right? So you got to keep me on track, Daniel. But my second business book, which is called "Hunt It Down, Kill It, and Drag It Home," will be out. It's in the process of the finishing touches, and that'll be out in the next few months. And then we're going to have some really exciting Wealtheo news. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. The courses are incredible, but we have some other opportunities within Wealtheo that are coming. And Daniel and Tara and the rest of the team, we got some really exciting things coming down the pike, and you're going to want to be a part of it.
Well, there we go. That's about as teasy as it gets. That was a tease. That was not even a peek.
Yeah, for instance, I won't say for instance, but
I'm not trying to goad you. Okay.
Yeah, because then a bunch of more questions will come. So
I know, right?
No, we have a couple of things that are under development right now that we're not ready to release, but when we release them, they're game changers. I mean, absolute game changers in personal finance. They're game changers in business opportunities. So can't wait to share them with you when they're ready.
There you go. And in the meantime, this would be a good opportunity to remind you to head over to wealtheo.com/plus to sign up for Wealtheo Plus, get access to all of our courses. And of course, as we launch new programs and new courses and new information and a lot of these things that Dave is teasing, you're going to get early access, right? That's a big part of your Wealtheo Plus subscription. And in addition, a reminder, at some point, these Q&As are going to wind up as Wealtheo Plus only, right? So you're getting a teaser sneak peek right now by having direct access to the man who has done it, where you can ask him any question. As evidenced by Todd, we mean any question. Okay. But head over to wealtheo.com.
Send Todd my personal email address, okay?
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah. Not unless I'm CC'd on that because I want to watch the show.
I have a good buddy named Todd. I bet it's him.
Probably. Is Todd a banker? Because if so, you already offended him.
No.
Okay.
Nope, not at all.
Sure.
Don't mean to offend the bankers. Hey, Daniel, they'll tell you they're heartless, okay? And they're proud of it.
I understand. But hey, just a reminder for Wealtheo Plus subscribers, we also have a special Facebook group exclusively for Wealtheo Plus subscribers. So be sure to check that out. If you're a Wealtheo Plus subscriber, you will find a link on the main menu to give you access to the Facebook group. Plus, you got it in your welcome email. So that being said, Dave, any parting thoughts for folks as we get ready to sign off for the first Q&A of January 2022?
If you just gone and watched one of the course videos, I challenge you to go watch it. You'll impress. This crew, That's not a credit to me. It's a credit to Daniel, Tara, and the rest of the crew, their production crew. These are the best financial literacy courses that you can get online, and it's not even close.
There you go. There's your parting thoughts. Start off 2022. Check out what we have to offer. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we go live or post a new video. And of course, if you're watching this on Facebook, be sure to like, share, and comment. Help us defeat that algorithm and break through the noise. And, because we've got a mission. We want to share that mission with the world. Financial independence is within the grasp of everyone. So that being said, Dave, thank you so much for having to sit down with us and enjoying the cigar and taking these questions. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
And everybody have a happy new year and have a successful new year.
Fantastic. All right. Well, from all of us here at Wealtheo, I want to wish you a very prosperous 2022, and let's go out there and win. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right. This is where it all began. It's changed a little bit since then, hasn't it? 32 years?
I wanted to get a double wide.
That's right. Your dream was a double wide. There it is. That's it.
Wow, look
Yeah.
how they got the
They got a
mailbox.
got a fancy brick mailbox that we didn't have, and a deck. The landscaping, there's a deck there now. Grew up in San Antonio, mostly Houston. My dad worked for a giant insurance company. A lot of my friends' parents had businesses of their own. And the one thing I noticed is that they always had a little bit different lifestyle than us. We always seemed to be stressed out about money. They seemed to have some of the, toys in life, a bass boat, be able to go on a neat vacation. So I knew at an early age that I had to be in business for myself. A lot of the same trailers 32 years later are still here. We're all taught to go out, get an education, get a good job. You very rarely hear somebody say, go out, get a good education, and start your own business. We started Telegistics in 1997, which is now a multi-million-dollar company with $1,000 in a closet. So that's how we began. Having a business is fun. There is an art and some science to having the right people. And sometimes it takes a little while to figure out, and sometimes you can be fooled. You have to continually be changing if your industry requires it. And ours did.
Understand that it's okay if you fail. You're going to have obstacles. As long as you believe that you can do it, that's all that matters.
Any extra money that we had, we were putting back into business. Buying equipment, computers, paying employees. Telegistics is where I spend the majority of my time. I have 4 other businesses, but I also am a writer. I've written 2 political thrillers that have become bestsellers on several bestseller lists. My kids had come to me and asked me one time, she goes, these books are great, Dad, but you really need to write a business book. That's what you do every day. A lot of my business strategies and methods are a little bit unconventional. My youngest son, who was in school at Texas A&M, would come home and say, Dad, I'm not hearing anybody teach the things that you talk about. And that was a lot of fun writing that book, and that was the latest book called Unemployable, because essentially I've been unemployable my entire life. You could take this book with the ideas and the strategies and the principles, no matter what your age, you would have the basic set of fundamental tools to start a business. I honestly believe that this is the best time in history to start a business because you can have customers all over the world because of technology and connectivity that never existed in history before. So Rose and I have been married for 34 years. We have this gorgeous place, we get to travel, have a lot of nice things, and all the material things are great, but the greatest thing is peace of mind.
If someone says that's ridiculous, no one's done that, you can't do it, read the book.
It. Who knows when we'll be back here again, but
Never.